Hiring managers are not reading resumes anymore, according to the Business Insider. I just got an article to my inbox from the Business Insider, and it's titled RIP Resumes. And what's happening is they're getting these resumes, but they're essentially like AI slop. Basically, everyone is using these same AI generated resumes, the same talking points. It's just the same, and they cannot depend on it anymore. So let me add this nuance. Their resumes still very much so matter. They give visibility to who you are on paper. They lead the conversation. But at the end of the day, when you're in that interview, you still have to show up. In other words, you have got to match that resume. And what's happening is that's not happening in the grand scheme of things. People's resumes are telling a totally different story than who they actually are and what they actually been doing, and it's showing up. So, as you all know, I have 13 years of experience in the space of data, and I'm still very much so in the field. I have had interviews to where people have gone through my resume line by line, asking me about specific projects that I've been on. How did I facilitate those projects? What were the outcomes? They're asking me things to kind of gauge if I actually did that work. Because, like I always say, when people are actually in the space and actually have skin in the game, they can always tell if that reality matches that description. So I've been able to provide insight to those processes because guess what? It's my work. I did that. I was there. I facilitated that. I led that. I directed that. This was the outcome. And that's the reality of it. And also, as someone that throughout my career has actually sat on interview panels and provided feedback, provided insight on those hiring decisions, we can always tell when someone did not actually do that work. Why? Because their conversation is very generic. It doesn't really display trade offs, it doesn't display the reality of someone that's dealing in a messy data landscape because data is a huge ecosystem with trade offs, it's risky, there are unclear requirements, you run into different roadblocks. That's the reality of dealing in this space. But someone who just made some up or put talking points on their resume are not going to be able to talk through those processes as if they did. Ain't enough scripting in the world for that. And AI doesn't create the fake experience. Like I always say, AI doesn't create anything. It essentially just regurgitates information based on what you present to it. It's data, it's patterns, which is why, to go back to my first point, everyone's resume looks the same because it's not creating anything new. It's essentially establishing those patterns and creating resumes based on what? Existing patterns in data. It's cyclical. Like everything goes back to data. And that's why I'm also very intentional with the people that I support and help strategize with by we don't memorize things. We don't just repeat buzzwords. We don't regurgitate the information because when you get in those interviews, those things are painstakingly clear. It's clear, especially for someone that is trying to transition into the space. And guess what? That's traumatic. That's embarrassing, and it also diminishes your confidence. And guess what? You don't have to do that. Just stay true to who you are, the existing work that you've already done, and leverage it into the space of or the direction of where you're trying to go. Stop trying to memorize like these frameworks or these buzzwords or these things that you think the people on the other side of these interview panels want to hear, because as someone that's been on the other side of those interview panels, we can always tell when people are just like regurgitating things or saying things. I've been on interviews with people before and they spent 2 minutes telling them like about themselves, and everything that they listed doesn't even match what we're looking for in the job description or in their particular role. So I can tell that you just went through this grand scheme of like gathering as much information that you can about preparing for a generic data analyst role, and you're just regurgitating stuff, and it's like this doesn't even translate to what we need. So it doesn't matter. And this is also why shortcuts in spaces like data or tech is not cool. Like it doesn't really support you in the long run. It does not work like that. You have to understand and learn what those foundational skills are and how they apply to the work that you have actually been doing in order to be successful into this space and to be able to sustain a career into the space. There's no way around it. So I hope this helps. I'm going to post the link of the article in the comments because, like, go read it. But I think you might have to have a subscription anyway. But I got one because, like, I be reading all the articles. But anyway, go read it. Bye, y'all. Have a good day. I hope this helps.